So I wonder if in the new Batwoman episode, when Doella cut her face and she had to give plastic surgery or was forced to by her mother, if her mother didn't think, I spent thousands of dollars to fix these scars, and all I had to do was have Alice give you a facelift. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach the Nerd, and in this episode we are reviewing episode 14 of Batwoman, entitled Grinning from Ear to Ear. Now, I am a little late with these reviews because with the COVID epidemic and I was actually working and not able to work from home originally, I got really behind. So now I'm playing catch up. So 15 and 16 will probably be posted Saturday and Sunday. So 14 will be posted today, which would be Friday. And I am going to be doing my charm review tonight. And Picard will be coming too. So Batwoman, episode 14, Grinning from Ear to Ear. I kind of liked it. I mean, it was a slower episode for me because in my mind, this was more of a character development, episode for Sophie and Kate, even though there was a villain of the week, which is actually very, I don't know if a lot of people know who she is. Doella Dent. She's Harvey Dent's or Two-Face's daughter in the comics. She's claimed to be everyone's daughter, from like Riddler to like Catwoman to, Penguin. I mean, everybody. Every known villain in DC, she has basically said, "That's my daddy." But she is actually Harvey Dent and Gilda. I think her mother's name was Gilda. It has been a minute. I have to look that up. I think it's Gilda. It might be Glenda, one of the G names. One of Bruce Wayne's Darkest Night friends, socialite friends. But anyway, so long story short, in Batwoman, Doella is portrayed as the niece of Harvey Dent. Now, I don't know if this is I'm thinking it's pre-Two-Face, which doesn't make sense because he's a Batman villain, so you would think he would already be Two-Face, but I don't know. The continuity of the Arrowverse is crazy. So in terms of Doella, I don't know if she's supposed to be a pre-crisis, a post-crisis, or New 52 version of her, which is saying a lot for her character because Doella is actually the prototype for Harley Quinn. She even calls herself Harley Quinn in the New 52, I believe. Is that New 52? She is who Harley Quinn evolves to be when she's introduced later, because Doella actually was introduced the year I was born in 1976, so a long time ago. But she has an unnatural obsession with the Joker, just like Harley Quinn. She goes so far as to giving herself a blood transfusion to, in her mind, change her blood so that she would be biologically his daughter. That's how nuts she is. She's been associated with some cool teams, right post-crisis and a little bit pre-crisis, she was a Teen Titan on a probationary period. And then in the New 52, she joins the Suicide Squad along with Harley Quinn. So, which is interesting. But she's had a very long and insane road in the comics. She's been very beneficial. She's teamed up with people like Cyborg, Superman, a few episodes with Batman or issues with Batman. So she's not a minor character, but she's kind of like a B. If we're looking at like Justice League level, like, how like the A types and the B type characters, she's a B leaguer, but crazy, has been hospitalized, has been in prison, but has also been a good guy. And it's comics. And I'm pointing that out because in Batwoman, in this episode 14, they did not utilize her like they should. Like, she is, and all intents and purposes, she's Harley Quinn's prototype. She should be a lot crazier. And yeah, she was like running around with a box cutter and cutting, the girls who had plastic surgeries faces, even people that she knew, because her mother was, they're making it seem like her mother, and I think her name was Evelyn in this episode, just some random, was like a stage mom and was forcing her to be beautiful. And so to get revenge on her mother, she snapped basically, and she like cut her face. And she just was running around like cutting socialites or social media, stars faces. Like, I mean, it kind of made sense because she wasn't happy with how she looked, and she cut like a little smile in her face. So Joker. But she absolutely hated everything about being beautiful, putting the image of being beautiful out there. She's like, that is not your true beauty. This grotesque cutting of my face is who I really am. So yeah, very drastic way to get that message across that beauty isn't everything, but her mom made her snap. And what I found interesting is they hospitalized or institutionalized Duella and then forced her to have plastic surgery with Dr. Ethan Campbell, who we all know is the new persona of August Cartwright, who is the man who held Alice captive all those years and is the father of Mouse. So I just thought that was really interesting that he fixed her face. You know, the man who likes to take faces fixed the scars on her face and was calling her crazy basically when Sophie was interviewing him. But anyway, so back to that. Her mother had her forcibly have the scars removed and fix her face. And then Duella gets released to her mother, and her mother starts the same crap over again to the point where she, you know, Duella cuts her face again and eventually slits her mother's throat. That's one thing I love about Batwoman. They're not afraid to look like a Stephen King or a Clive Barker movie. It's grotesque. It's something you would see on a Netflix show like Sabrina or whatever. But yeah, so very dark world. But again, it's Gotham, so I get it. So yeah, Duella is basically the main villain of the week. But I'm putting that aside because honestly, outside of slitting her mom's throat and what Alice does to her, which I'll touch on in a minute, she didn't really do a lot. She was crazy. She did the crazy eyes, but she really didn't do a lot, which is an issue. But the main portion of this story revolves around Kate and Sophie, because in the last episode 13, they were kind of making out on the roof. And this is kind of like, I guess it's the next day, so 24 hours later. So they're in their love bubble phase. Like, everyone's noticing, like Luke is noticing that Kate's like really giddy and happy. And of course, Mary runs into Sophie in a coffee shop and, you know, Sophie's really happy. So both Mary and Luke are like getting them to spill what's going on. The conversation goes interestingly. Kate starts from being very, very happy to Luke being like, there's a reason Batman didn't have a girlfriend. It's because if people find out who she is, she becomes collateral damage and they go after her. You know, she's pretty much dead and it's your fault. So the bubble gets popped, and so Kate decides she's going to break things off, but simultaneously, Sophie's like, I'm going to give this a chance. It's new, it's mysterious, it's exciting, and Mary's like, oh. And Mary knows that Kate is Batwoman, so she's kind of like, well, crap. I'm like, you don't realize that Kate is Batwoman, which I still don't get, because they were in a relationship for, 2-3 years? She didn't know how she kisses? I don't know. But neither here nor there. But Mary's like, how are you going to handle it when you find out that your ex is really Batwoman? But she doesn't say anything because nobody knows that Mary knows, because Batwoman. So basically, Kate goes over to break it off with Sophie, and they get into this conversation, and they kind of start making out again. And then Sophie's mother shows up. So they don't get to finish that. Sophie's mother is basically, and we knew this from the pilot episode, is one of the reasons why Sophie did not come clean about being a lesbian in the military when they were in military school, because she knew how her mother was going to react. And it happens. They did a very good job of like a coming out type situation. I was lucky. I didn't have that with my parents. I did have it with my in-laws though. So I know how hard it is to want somebody to like you, but realizing that they're not going to accept who you are because of your sexuality. And it's such a stupid thing. It's so stupid that, you know, it's, to me, it just blows my mind that other people are like, what, you know, Sophie, this has been your mother and your relationship for a very long time. You knew how your mother was. You knew your mother's expectations. Like when she made this statement about how she didn't like Batwoman, but she can accept Batman because he follows her values. And it was like, you know, so you're basically saying it's because Batwoman is a lesbian. You're like, nah, can't do it. And Sophie knew that. Sophie knew coming out to her mother was going to be a disaster. And her mother, so supportive in the beginning, the moment she dropped that she was into girls, she was a disappointment. And it's sad. And that whole conversation was so real. And I think they handled that one really well. They did. They handled it really well. But yeah, so Sophie came out to Mama. Now, which is interesting is I think what motivated her to do that was a conversation that she had with Kate in the episode, is because Kate basically said to her, I will tell you who I am right now, basically breaking the illusion, not hiding behind a mask. And Sophie couldn't do it because Sophie, is trying to come out. She's coming out of the closet. She doesn't want to go back in. She doesn't want to put on the mask, which is a complete 180. It's like where Kate was in the premiere, in the pilot, is now where Sophie's trying to be. And Kate's actually going more into the closet now, not with sexuality, but with identity. So it's like really a 180 flip for both of them. I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, definitely a very character-driven review it's really mostly what happened in this episode. It was almost like Kate was like not really 100% into what was happening in her own episode this week. It was like, oh yeah, I gotta go fight this girl. It was like it was like a side story, even though it should have been like the main story. Like this woman's going around cutting people's faces with a box cutter, but it was like, but I'm dealing with my love life. Like CW. But okay, so past that, we see that Alice basically is plotting to kill Ethan Campbell, aka August. And she does this by, when all is said and done and Batwoman and Sophie are able to subdue Duella, because really, honestly, there wasn't a lot to it. They have her tied up and they call for GPD to come get her. So the Gotham Police Department's coming and she's tied up and Alice gets to her first because Alice saw a profile of her in the newspaper or news, whatever. And so she gives her an offer she can't refuse, and basically Duella lets this woman slice her face off and take it with her. And she's like, now I'm perfect and I am beautiful. And I'm like, okay. They definitely have the insanity part for Duella down pretty well in this version. But wow, wow. So Alice takes Duella's face, she puts it on herself, she goes to Ethan Campbell's office and she's like, I know who you really are. After, he figures out it's not Duella he's really talking to, and then she knocks him out. And we know that she's getting ready to take him to go torture him, kill him, whatever, for the 11 years of hell that he put her through. But it's just that whole moment was so messed up. And I keep thinking, I know there's an issue in the comics where Duella, she convinces someone to sew skin grafts of pieces of Joker's skin onto her face to make her feel like she's more related to the Joker. I'm telling you, her and Harley Quinn have a lot in common. They both have an unnatural obsession with this man. Duella wants Joker to be daddy, and of course, Harley Quinn just wants to get in his pants. So it's completely, their motivations are different, but it's the same obsession. It's creepy. But yeah, so that just allowing her face to be slit off, cut off, carved off, whatever, while you're, bound is interesting to me. I find that very interesting. I think it's probably the goriest I've seen so far in Batwoman, and they weren't scared to show the aftermath of the face. It was just disgusting. So, but yeah, overall, not a bad episode. Like I said, it's more character driven. That's why when I did this review, it's almost like it's so quick because it dealt more with what's going on with, Sophie and with Kate than with the actual, antagonists of the week, basically. The only other thing I can say side note wise is Mary. Mary has this really interesting conversation at Kate's bar where she says that, the reason she could trust Kate with her underground medical facility is because she knew that she could trust Kate and that Kate would not rat her out, and that she hoped that someday that Kate would feel the same way about her. Even when Kate had gone to Mary earlier in the episode, to ask about the social, media starlets, that if she knew anything about them, Mary's like, oh, I can help you. I'm very beneficial. I know all these people, I have connections. And Kate's just like, no, stay out of it. And it's interesting to me because Mary has been helping them up to this point. If you look at the past episodes, she's always at, at Wayne Industries, just like hanging around with Luke and Googling and looking up stuff. And, you know, she helped out with Beth. She's always helping out. And if she's not doing that, she's getting kidnapped or hurt in some way. So if Kate's worried about that, it's happening anyway. So Mary might as well be Team Batwoman because she's already involved. She lost her mother, to Alice, because technically, let's just be fair, because of her mother and because of the stuff going on with Kate and her dad. So Mary cannot be more invested in Batwoman than, you know, every other character, because it's already had such a huge impact on her life. So I don't get why Kate's being that way, but I guess they just have to string it out. But I think it's interesting that Kate hasn't figured out that Mary knows, and Mary's not making it easy. And there's a part where Alice is actually in the medical facility with Mary stealing medical supplies. And, you know, Mary just says, "Do you know who Batwoman is?" And Alice is like, "Yeah, don't you?" And then she doesn't say anything. She's like, "Oh, well, I guess you're not that close." And I think that was kind of like a slap in the face. And Mary's the character I feel the most connected with in this show. And I feel so bad for, because she's smart, she's resourceful, she's useful, and she's underrated. And she's not made to feel like she can do all of these things by Kate. And she wants so much to have this relationship with Kate. And Kate is kind of like, because of all the stuff with Alice, her walls are up. So she cares about Mary, but her walls are up. So I don't know. They just need to get it together. But yeah, episode 14, not a bad episode. I liked it. I just felt like Duella could have been used a lot more. She is a lot crazier in the comics. And again, I'm not trying to say every comic book has to be made exactly live action variation perfectly. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're going to introduce somebody crazy like Duella Dent, you introduce Duella the way she's supposed to be introduced, and that is batshit crazy. Just my opinion. But hey, I want to know what you guys think, so please leave me a comment below and let me know. And if you'd like to sign up for Jury Duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on the Nerd Bell, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. But hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.